Well, we're here today with Marnie Taylor from the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits. We're really excited to talk to you about what's going on at the center, as well as what's going on with the Brightwell relationship. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Marnie, we work with a lot of nonprofits, but you've worked with them for a lot longer than we have. So we were really excited to get to know you over the past several months and kind of watch what you all are doing. The new renovation, by the way, is stunning. I know it's not as new right now, but it's beautiful. At the center, but love to just know a little bit about what your mission is at the Center of Nonprofits.
Certainly. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for being curious about the nonprofit sector, because it is actually the third largest, nonprofit employees are the third largest base of employees in the country and in the state of Oklahoma.
Folks do not probably think that at all.
They think banking, oil and gas, manufacturing, and truly, hospitality and retail are number one and number two, and nonprofit employees are number three.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Not even oil and gas.
No. One time I was actually kicked out of a funder's office because I quoted the Department of Commerce, who said the nonprofit sector employs 40% more people than the oil and gas industry, and they were actually offended by that.
Wow, it's not necessarily revenue, but still, that's a huge thing to our economy here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it is. It is. We are supplying essential services to Oklahomans every day that literally, save lives for Oklahomans, certainly make the quality of life better for all Oklahomans. But in many cases, even save lives for Oklahomans.
That's incredible. And that's does that translate? I know you're working in Oklahoma, but you have a very national perspective with the committees and things you're on. Does that translate across?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, in the United States, we are 10% of the national workforce. In Oklahoma, and that's non-governmental.
Okay.
In Oklahoma, we're a little bit smaller, about 7% of the non-governmental workforce. And that's really just because we have a large governmental workforce in Oklahoma because of our bases and our state government. So we are a very big employer across the United States and an economic driver. I think people don't, first of all, people don't think of nonprofits as businesses.
Yeah,
they think of us as little volunteer organizations or as little things, and we are big.
So frame out some of, you're right. A lot of folks think it's a small thing over here, a small impact potentially. You're giving a larger scope. Frame out some of the profiles of members you have.
Oh my gosh. Well, interestingly enough, on the big side, and this is probably what surprises a lot of people, are private universities in Oklahoma. Yeah, we have several, but in Oklahoma City, we have Oklahoma City University. In Tulsa, they have Tulsa University. But the hospitals, most of the hospitals in Oklahoma are nonprofit hospitals. They have the same tax status, so they are 501c3 organizations. Up to, the YMCA in central Oklahoma is the largest provider of child care in central Oklahoma. So we think of the Y as going to work out, right, in the morning. No, they are the largest provider, I should say, of child care. So the services we provide, those are the big things, all the way down to we have members of the center who have no office space, no paid staff. It's mom and pop. People say, oh, well, gosh, I'm little. I started around my kitchen table. I said, probably every nonprofit in the United States
like that.
Started around, Clara Barton started the Red Cross probably around her kitchen table. So that's how they start. It's an idea. It's a passion in someone's heart. And then the center helps us take those passions and those dreams and turn them into a reality.
All right, so let's talk more about that. Talk about how you all bring those dreams to reality and what services you provide to these nonprofits.
Yeah, and I want to make it clear, we can enter the life of a nonprofit, whether they've been around for 40 years or 40 days or 4 hours. So if you're brand new, we really can help you start your organization. We can help you figure out how to fill out your 1023 tax form. We can talk about your bylaws. If you need an attorney, we can get you. We are not legal. We are not attorneys, but we can get you in touch with people if you need an attorney. But there's a lot to starting a nonprofit. When someone comes in and says they want to start a nonprofit, we said, are you ready to open a business? This is not just a little hobby. This is
not just
a
a passion project. You have to organize.
No, you have to register at the Secretary of State, just like any business in Oklahoma. And then you also have to register as a charitable organization. So the state of Oklahoma even wants to know how you're raising your money.
Gotcha.
And so there is a lot of oversight in Oklahoma as well. Of course, ultimately it's the IRS.
So startup, small, I have a passion, I want to get started. That's a great thing the center supports me with. What about these larger organizations you're talking about? What type of services do you provide, and why do they attract to the center?
One thing that all nonprofits have in common, whether you have a small budget or a big budget, is you have a board of directors.
Yes.
And nonprofit governance, when I see things go wrong with nonprofits,
Starts there.
9 times out of 10, it's because of poor governance or poorly executed governance. They may have the right documents, they may have the right policies and procedures, but they're choosing not to follow them.
Yeah.
So we do so much to support boards and board governance, teaching boards how to do it right, what their roles and responsibilities are. And even if you have a little board of 3 people, or you are a large organization with a board made up of even lawyers and doctors and accountants, sometimes they really don't understand what the role of governing a nonprofit organization is. And so that is a very common thing that people come to us
A
for.
large part of your services.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I know that I've been on part of several boards that are healthy and other ones that aren't. And I would imagine that avenue to have someone that can sit outside and say, we've seen this, we've kind of been to this rodeo, and we can give you some insight is probably very beneficial to anyone in that space. Yeah. So other services, I mean, do you offer, whether it's development services? I know that's a big deal, fundraising, just basic business acumen of how to run the business operationally, or is it more on the governance side and legal side?
No, it's really, our Pat Potts, who I have to give accolades to. She is still with us, fortunately, was in my office yesterday, founded the center 43 years ago. And she was giving out checks from the Oklahoma City Community Foundation, where she worked, to nonprofits. And she thought, I wonder if these people have any idea how to do good accounting, how to have good hiring principles. Do they have policies around HR? Do they have policies around things? And so she left that job and started the Center for Nonprofits 43 years ago.
That's incredible.
On her own dime with, that was a kitchen table, right? That was a kitchen table.
The center is actually a kitchen table.
Yeah, and but no, I would say we have something called nonprofit management certification. We have it both at a basic level and a pro level, and we put hundreds of people through those classes every year. So those are really for individuals who work at nonprofits who need the actual business skills or need to up their skill level in whatever it is, whether it's finance or accounting or HR is huge right now, fundraising is huge. We also have a program that we've been teaching for about 17 years called Standards for Excellence. Okay. And it is a national program. You can actually get accredited in standards. It's the only accreditation that is good across the United States for any type of nonprofit. And it is a 2-day curriculum of teaching you everything. Their business acumen is in there.
Looks over the whole
ethics, compliance, all of that. So a lot of times people say, where do I start when they walk in my door? Standards can be a lot, but you walk away with a flash drive that literally has a policy manual on it.
Beautiful.
Let's plug and play. But then we really recommend people come back and take the brass tacks kind of courses, like nonprofit management certification, marketing classes. You mentioned fundraising.
Yeah.
It's, that's our blood, right? We have to have, we say no money, no mission. And a
That's
lot,
good.
I've even had employees that are like, oh, you talk too much about the budget. You talk too much about money. I'm like, if I don't talk about money, you don't have a job. And if you don't have a job, we don't get to do our services. So financial stability for nonprofit organizations is as important, but sometimes even more difficult than for-profit organizations.
I love that. No money, no mission. That's a very basic thing, because that's what we're trying to put out there, and you can't have one without the other. 43 years ago, this started. Mm-hmm. Love Pat Potts still is kind of actively part of.
Absolutely.
And then you joined how long ago?
I joined almost 20 years ago as a board member. So it's a little bit unusual sometimes for a board member to become a staff member or a CEO in my case. Yeah. But I had served on about 30 nonprofit boards. It was my hobby.
Sounds like it.
Raising the kids and going to nonprofit board meetings was what I did every day for years and years. And I became passionate, particularly about governance, but certainly about the role that nonprofits play. So so this was a really great board for me to join, because it was a way to help all nonprofits. and really be passionate and use what I love. I was so connected to the mission the day I walked in. And then about 5 or 6 years in, my predecessor actually went to take over the United Way. She too
great.
loves nonprofits,
Yeah.
Debbie Hampton. And she looked at me and said, I think this is your job. I'm like, what?
Wait a minute, I'm on the board.
Yeah, I'm on the board. And I said, and I really, it was one of those, pray about it things and wake up each morning going, here was my litmus test. If somebody else had gotten that job, how would I have felt about it?
Yeah,
And I went, no, that's my job. And that's what I'm passionate about. And the joke is I did not even sign up for the 401k program in the beginning because I thought, is this the best fit? Am I the right person? So I'm in my 14th year as CEO. So I guess it paid
Finally
off.
on the 401k. Hopefully. Good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's incredible. The passion you had for and serving 30 different boards and then stepping into this role gives you a unique qualification for this leadership role. And your passion from the day I met you is very clear. So thank you for that. I know you're always looking at the whole scope of a nonprofit, and you have partnership programs. And so that's one thing when we first met. You said you have a couple recently. You're trying to add additional value to members. You haven't had a new one for a while.
Correct.
And that's kind of where we kind of met on the Brightwell path. Talk to me about what was interesting to you about Brightwell as it pertains. Let's talk about what Brightwell is so folks know. It's a simple way for a nonprofit who doesn't have tax liability to go solar to mitigate their operational costs. And so they can go with no capital by having someone else put solar panels on, paying a lower electric bill, and then potentially having that electricity at the end that's all theirs. And so that's an interesting thing to you. Tell us why.
Well, it was a very interesting thing to me. And yes, we do try to find what we call member benefits. Falls into that member benefit bucket for us because members don't even have time to go out and pursue these relationships individually, and they couldn't pursue.
They're trying
them.
to juggle all the other balls.
Right, exactly. They're like, "What are you talking about tomorrow? When am I going to do this?"
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel that way, but my job is to try and bring these kinds of benefits to them in mass and scale, which is great for the provider of the benefit as well as for the opportunities they afford our individual nonprofits. So. Just like any business owner, but I would suggest in the nonprofit sector, the scarcity of financial resources is greater and more fluctuating, and scarcity of time. We're all juggling a lot of balls. And so most nonprofits, some have a little bit of donated income, but a homeless shelter doesn't have someone walking in with their credit card to spend the night. You know, I mean, they're really relying on donated money, and donated money while overall has continued to rise in the United States, and Oklahoma is a generous state, the everyday person is giving less money right now than they used to give, and that has to do with the rebound of COVID and I mean, all the things. So,
I want to ask a quick detour question. Is that because more corporate giving is kind of bumping up? Is that why the numbers are going up, but the everyday person, it's a little bit down? Or
no, over in the country, it's the mega wealthy people.
Okay, they're just giving more.
It's the mega wealthy people. I mean, you look at, we don't have state giving numbers. We don't have that. No state has their own giving numbers at this point. It's all national numbers. But the big bump has been, extreme. The McKinsey Scott. I mean, I was on a national board that got a McKinsey Scott. They call you up and they give you millions of dollars. Yeah. So those, very generous, and we have many of them in Oklahoma. But they don't give to everybody. So
that makes sense. There's a little more of a hit and miss.
Yeah.
Some are well funded, or at least for a period, and others are like a little more anemic, saying, "How do I get by?"
Right. And if they were relying on their mailing list to people that suddenly those people are going to the food bank for food.
Yeah.
The dynamics of it can change. So being financially stable is the no money, no mission, right? Is the number one thing. So when we can bring a partnership like Brightwell, which is not only is it incredibly beneficial, it's easy. The time. So there goes the time. I would not have time to. Who do I call? How would I even know about getting solar? Does someone on my board, can they help me?
Is it going to work? Can I talk to somebody? Does anyone know about it? Right. How will the project work? I don't have time. Let's pass.
Exactly. I have a wish list, 4 pages long, just for me of all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And you take what's urgent and important that day, and occasionally, and then occasionally you get to go a little deeper or pass something off to say, would you research this for me? But instead, Brightwell comes knocking at your door with just give us these few items, just tell us these few things, give us this much access to what we need to put a proposal together. And for me, I'm spending none of my time doing that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Hopefully that process, the simplicity of it is what a member could hear, or a future member can hear. Is like, this doesn't take a lot. 12 months of utility bills or a design of your building. And we tell you if we can do a deal. If we can't, it didn't cost you anything else,
right?
Which is kind of nice. Going back to why this matters, I've been told, you'll be better at this than I am, that no money, no mission. And as a nonprofit, I have my budget. If I start encroaching my operating cost exceeding 35%, it's just cutting into that budget. And whenever I have a cost that's an essential, I don't decide, am I going to power my building today? I mean, that's not an option. Like you can cut other things, but this is one you have to have. Yeah. And that's been going up at historic rates, and it just presses into that budget. So we're looking at that pie and saying, if it's unhealthy to spend more than 35% on operating cost, whether it's staff or electricity. Is that a fair number? Or how do you guys think about that piece of the operating cost that we're trying to keep tight?
And there used to be some really hard and fast rules, and donors would say, if you're over this, we're not talking to you. And even Charity Navigator, who charts that on a national level, has given a little bit of grace, and probably it does have to do with the upsurge. Can't control. Exactly, with upsurge in costs. A lot of personnel costs you can write off as program costs because you're actually doing your mission.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can't, your utilities, your insurance, all of those things. And I've just, every year I get around to my annual renewals of all of those things. And, I've been looking at my health insurance. We always budget a 10% increase, and this year it's going to be a 13% increase. Yeah. And 10% and 13% and 10% more over the years, suddenly you can't hire that extra person or whatever. And energy is essential.
And it's been going up at historic rates, and we hope it doesn't continue to, but it's not just the cost of fuel. Sometimes folks think, well, gas hasn't gone up much. It's the infrastructure and the grid. It's like you have more than just the cost of the actual.
Right.
But whenever I look at this, our objective is to, again, because if I'm going to raise money for things or put capital into things, one of the least exciting campaigns is, will you pay to keep our lights on? And so we can get that off the table. That's kind of the mentality, and control that. And I will say a lot of our executive directors or CEOs or CFOs, or again, just the person that's doing everything, what they like most is not just the savings, but it's the predictability. That I know I don't have to expose myself in 3 years to a surprise. I know what my energy cost will be to keep all the lights on, and it's kind of past. Now it's out of my mind as something I have to carry.
No, that is huge. And if you could just do that for human capital costs, I would be figure that one out.
That's
Tony.
Right. That's right.
Because if I look back at what my budget was, and even what I had to pay, what I could hire really good people in for, and what it's done over the years, and then you look at your energy costs, and you look at all those things. So there aren't many that I can have any control over. So to be able to sit down and do your budget every year and put these predictable numbers in, and not go, oh gosh, I guess I better plan for 15% more or 20% more, because every time my finance people do that, I have to go raise that money. I have to balance that bottom line just like any business.
Spot on. So I'm going to quickly kind of recap now the program we put together.
Sure.
So to your point, we try to make it simple. Brightwell's goal is to help control this utility cost, the electric cost. We do that with solar. So when we go to one of your members, we ask for 12 months of utility bills. Then we look and see, and Oklahoma actually is like PSO, OG&E, a lot of the co-ops have actually really good solar policies. Folks don't know that. So when we look and design a project, we say about 8 out of 10, we can put together a really good project that we can offer back terms that say, hey, would you rather your utility cost this and hedge at this going forward? And if they say yes, we essentially just match them with capital that buys that project. And that's it. It's pretty simple. The installation's not painful. A lot of these projects, even large ones, are 2-3 weeks, and we don't get in the way of operations, and then we're done, and you're on into the future. And what we did particularly, we love this relationship because you all have already built up this trust with all these nonprofits. It's almost over 1,000, or are you actually over 1,000?
We're just about exactly 1,000 right now.
Okay. I figured you might be over it because it's right there.
Yeah.
But in years, 43 years of building up these relationships, and we can step and offer this benefit in the same way. If a member's like, this looks great, we like this, where they actually get their membership paid for 2 years to this the center, which is hopefully something that'll create a lot of value. So that's kind of the offer right now.
Yeah, right. No, and it's a very generous and great offer because, getting in, I always tell my folks, my degrees in marketing from Notre Dame, and I'm always wearing my marketing hat. I get them in our store, right? Get them in our store. And once they're in our store, then we sell them their products.
Yeah.
And their products, all just like any store, their products they're going to help them be better nonprofits, but getting them in our store, and that's what a membership does. I mean, people can use our services. I get calls all the time from people who aren't members, and I don't say, sorry, I can't talk to you, but I always give them advice and help, but I lead them towards membership in the center, because once that door opens, there are lots of free benefits.
They can look around the shelves. They understand what they are.
Yeah. Then pull them down and use them. And our new facility, which you referenced in Oklahoma City, we have a beautiful facility in Tulsa as well, but our headquarters is here in Oklahoma City. One of the benefits of membership now is during Monday through Friday during the workday, they can co-work there for free.
That's
they can
awesome.
have their board meetings for free. They can have committee meetings. I've had retirement parties. All kinds of things. And so, I mean, they can rack up thousands of dollars worth of benefit for the price of a membership.
That's awesome. And this is going to sound out of order. So, but this is your passion, your mission, what you all are doing. It marries so well with what we're doing. I'm hearing you talk about the offerings. It gets me excited as I sit on a couple boards of nonprofits. And knowing those services could be available, I didn't know about these until I met you, right? And I've seen other folks in this sector that rely heavily on you all. We started in solar for commercial. We were passionate, though, about solar for nonprofit. And we couldn't do a project. They couldn't do a project because they didn't have tax liability. We had to create Brightwell to solve that problem. So Brightwell's got a mission to offset $1 billion in operating cost for these nonprofits. That's what our team wakes up to try to do. Our tagline is unlocking generosity. We're trying to set really, really good terms. And the people that invest in our projects, they actually get scored on how much did they offset. And they get pumped about that. We give celebration tokens that say, I offset $2 million in operating costs for this homeless shelter, or $1 million for this food bank. And they get excited about it because people do want to do good. And while there might be lower per giving per unit, this is a way they can give and kind of leverage their gift. It's not a one-time gift. They get to give it. They get tax dollars back, and they can actually recycle their gift again. And so I just love your passion for this space, the tools, what you all have built for 43 years, that we even get to play a small part in that. And then your vision, when you first heard our goal of offsetting $1 billion, you said, let's do it here. And then we could probably spread it to other states because of your network, which got me really excited. And it's like, we want to partner with folks that are in that mindset and learn from you all, because we care about nonprofits, but you just have a way to get the message out. And that's what we get to do, is serve together. It gets us excited.
Well, thank you. And I want you to know, I get a lot of offers from people who would love to partner with the center because they see it. It's a marketplace. It's a marketplace of we have 5,200 active, people who fill out a 990 form, which people think that we don't pay taxes, but we have to fill out a tax form. It's called a 990 form. So, and that doesn't even include all the churches. And churches would be, great market. This is a great product for churches because they all own buildings.
Spot on.
So when you add up how many nonprofits are really out there, so people do come to me to tap into that. But we're very selective. We're very careful. When I told you, I said, no, this falls into member benefit. So it goes through about 3 committees and all the way to the board to make sure that they think they're comfortable with this relationship. So, it's kind of the center's good housekeeping stamp of approval for something. But it's, I will just say the ease of it is as much worth it not the money's worth more, but the ease is really helpful
That's
because
wonderful.
you're not asking me, and you're also not saying it's six years away.
No.
You're saying we're going to know this soon. We don't need too much from you. We'll do all the work, and then we're going to find the partner. I've talked about your portals. There's this I have there's this portal over here, and there's this portal over here, and you're going to help us find those investors. And again, I'm not knocking on somebody's door, which I have to do all the time for cash.
No, spot on. Well, if you're a member of the center listening right now, there's going to be opportunities throughout the year to learn whether you're coming into the center for an event, through materials. But we're going to be working directly with Marnie and our team to make sure this is accessible. But again, thank you for the partnership. Thank you for this time today. I think it's going to be just great for folks to learn, honestly, about the nonprofit sector as a whole. I learned a lot just right here that I don't feel like we've even talked about. So thank you for the time.
Well, thank you very much. And we are really excited about the partnership.